there's not something you can just do that's like, oh, I surround myself with white light or I smudge all the time. I've found that those things don't necessarily protect from everything. They will keep certain things away from you, but they don't necessarily guard you. They aren't shielding you from anybody coming in and attaching. I'm Brett, I'm a psychic medium, and I am finally back in a cemetery where I can have some peace and quiet and keep my social distancing with the living people. Okay, so I've had a lot of questions about attachments recently, and so I want to talk about attachments. What is an attachment? An attachment is a spirit, entity, or energy that attaches to you or your psychic or spiritual body. It can be as intense as a possession, or it can just be a spirit that's hanging around somewhere nearby that likes you. What kind of spirits, entities, energies will attach to you? There can be everything from the scary, major demonic kind of thing that makes all the press and makes the headlines. And then it can go even to spirits who want to vicariously live through you. So spirits with habits, or they just want to feel what you're feeling. And then there can be spirits or entities that just want to be around you. They find you exciting, or they find that you have something that they seem to be missing. And so they want to be with you for that reason. And then there are spirits who I've had who have accidentally kind of connected to my aura or connected into my system. And they've talked to the angels and they're like, I'm stuck. I didn't mean to do this. And so they've been removed. So there can be the malicious kind of entities that attach to you, and then there can be well-meaning or even accidental attachments. What's the difference between attachment and possession? I think possession is just a more severe version of attachment. It doesn't have to be as intense or as big as possession. I think that's probably as extreme as it gets, but there's a wide spectrum of attachments. Generally with a possession, you're more taken over. It's more of almost like a channeled kind of situation where the entity takes over more of your emotions, more of your thinking patterns, more of your behaviors. And an attachment is more of an influence, or they're more of a parasite that is taking your energy or working with your emotions and stuff like that. It's not quite as extreme. In what places or situations are you likely to pick up an attachment? One of my biggest places where I see people getting attachments is at like bars, or in places where there is a lot of emotional energy. Where is this guy? Okay. What kind of places or situations are you likely to pick up an attachment? A lot of times attachments are drawn to you through your addictions. So places like bars, casinos, places with high emotion, places where you are playing out your addictions. So if you are into drinking a lot, or smoking, or doing drugs, or fighting, or gambling, these are places where spirits or entities who enjoy those things or who were addicted when they were alive, those are places where those spirits will go. And so at bars, you'll have a lot of alcoholic kinds of spirits hanging out and trying to latch onto you so they can have a drink vicariously through you. Something funny that happened with me with bars was I used to be a teacher, and so we had spring break, and we were deciding that we were going to hit every bar that we could find to check out their happy hour, because it used to be, like when I was young, it used to be that happy hour, you could always get like free food, or you could get like they had some sort of buffet or something like that. And so, well, we were thinking, yeah, I get a beer and we have lunch or we have dinner. And so we hit all of these different places. We hit a bar every day. And at the end of this week, we realized that I had an attachment. It took one morning before work at 7 o'clock in the morning, me deciding that I would pour myself a shot of tequila because I deserved it and it would take the edge off. That was a big red flag for me because I'm not even much of a drinker. I find that it impacts my ability to work psychically. So I don't even really drink that much. And so pouring a shot of tequila before work was a big red flag. I didn't drink it. It was just that was enough to tell me that I had an alcoholic attachment. As soon as I figured out what was going on, this dude was like, my bad, I'm gone. And my guides took care of him and it was gone, and I didn't have any alcohol problems since. I also was so freaked out by that experience that I think I went for 6 months or a year without having like a single drink. It was actually feeling kind of like probably what it's like to be an alcoholic for that 2 weeks or whatever it was. So it was really intense. We got somebody coming right up here. That's pretty loud. Okay. When I go to casinos, or when I especially go to Las Vegas or something like that, that is a major, major place where there is the potential for attachments, because you've got alcohol, you've got sex, you've got gambling, you've got drugs. People are just uninhibited. That's a place where there are spirits all over the place that want to live vicariously through you, involved in whatever vice it is you have. And you're open and you're drinking and all of this stuff, and alcohol actually opens you up a little bit. Things like alcohol and drugs, they leave kind of like holes in your aura, or they leave ways in for spirits to attach. There are also situations where spirits will attach because they're into violence or fighting or things like that. And I had a really weird experience. This was really scary. I'm walking down the street doing my thing, and suddenly, without any provocation, without anything happening at all, I felt crazy violence towards this person. They didn't do anything. They didn't have anything that identified them as somebody that I would want to hurt for any reason. And I'm not a violent person. It was so scary that I had to get out of there. Like, I moved away from them. I went to my house. I was asking for help from my guides and everything. And immediately it was gone. But it was so abrupt and so scary and so extreme, this violent feeling I had. Like, that was terrifying. And then it was taken care of really quickly. Thank you, everybody. So I'm having technical difficulties with my gear. My microphone keeps shutting off. So I don't know if somebody doesn't like me talking about this, or I don't know if I'm going to be able to save this, or this is going to be a two-parter or what. But let me try to answer some questions again, and hopefully I don't get cut off. How can you tell if you have an attachment? I think it comes down to really being aware of yourself, being aware of what's normal for you, what's not normal for you, what's your typical behavior, what is your typical thought pattern, how do you feel about things, and how do you not feel about things. Like, when something is really not you, that's when you kind of want to check in with yourself and see if you have an attachment. If you're afraid that you do have an attachment, you can ask your guides. And this is basically, in your head, you can go, guides, spirit guides, I need your help. I'm afraid that I might have an attachment. I don't even know what an attachment means really, but I don't feel like myself, or I feel like there's something wrong. Can you please check it out and take care of it? That can be enough to help you out. If you don't want to ask for your guides, you can ask for whoever it is that you feel looks out for you. This can be Jesus, Archangel Michael. You can ask for, whatever your religion is, whoever you feel is going to watch out for you and take care of you, because they are available and they will help you. So, you can ask for them. And Sometimes you might need to actually call on somebody like me or some other psychic or somebody else that can specialize in cleansing and clearing to help remove whatever this entity is or whatever this baggage is, or cut cords or help you with this situation. And there are people around that do this stuff. I do this stuff, and I'm happy to say I'm able to do this again. My team is allowing me out from underneath my little shelter to work with people again. So if you want to schedule an appointment, I've got my email, I've got my ways of contacting me. Can you do things to avoid getting attachments? Can you protect yourself from attachments? I know that I can't really. I mean, I can to a certain extent. I can avoid certain behaviors. I can avoid addictive behaviors. I can pay attention to when something isn't quite right, or I'm aware of my environment a little bit more than a lot of people probably, but just trusting your intuition, trusting what you're feeling is a good way to avoid being in a situation where you can get an attachment. Being aware of your environment, being aware of situations can be a way of avoiding getting an attachment, but there's not something you can just do that's like, oh, I surround myself with white light or I smudge all the time. I've found that those things don't necessarily protect from everything. They will keep certain things away from you. They'll try to keep you a little bit safer in certain situations, but they don't necessarily guard you. They aren't shielding you from anybody coming in and attaching. I know that with me, I'm in kind of a different circumstance because my work is cleansing and clearing of people and places. And when I do that, I open myself up. Everybody's aware of me doing it. And so I will draw in spirits, I'll draw in entities. And then also whoever it is that I'm usually working with, I'll possibly take on some of whatever's going on with them. And then even if the spirit or energy or whatever is taken away and taken up or dealt with by my team, usually that draws attention of other spirits and stuff. And so they will come and attach to me. So I don't really find a way of avoiding attachments, except I do avoid addictive behaviors, except for eating. I overeat, and that's something I'm working on, but I don't drink much. I avoid drugs. They aren't helpful for my psychic work or meditation. They impair it, and so I avoid those kind of things. But yeah, addictive behaviors I try to avoid, and that keeps me relatively free of drawing those kinds of spirits. Yeah. Here's a different kind of attachment. It's not necessarily a spirit or entity that's like trying to take advantage or live vicariously through me, but me just picking up on energies or pulling energies in and having them attached to my field. And this can be illnesses or emotional things or funky energies. It doesn't necessarily need to be a spirit or entity. Crystal got me a Groupon for a float tank experience. And I've always wanted to do a sensory deprivation tank. So I did this float tank experience, and I'm in this water that it has neutral buoyancy. So I'm floating there. I'm not really having to do anything. It's just kind of floating in this water. And it's dark and it's silent. And so you aren't having any of these perceptions coming in. And so I did that. It was cool. It wasn't fantastic. I'm sure I had some sort of psychic experiences while in there. Nothing extraordinary. But afterwards, I was feeling sick, and I started feeling sick like immediately afterwards. And this wasn't sick because it wasn't a sterile environment or they didn't take care of it or it wasn't clean or whatever. This was because all of the people that were in this float tank before my experience had experiences, and they let go and they relax and they let go of illnesses and emotional issues and things like that. And so I get in there, all of that stuff was sucked onto my energy body. And so I was feeling Like, I had arthritis all through my body. I was super depressed. I had all of these issues, and it took us a little while to figure out that, oh, this wasn't my stuff. This was somebody else's stuff that I picked up while in that situation. And again, guides took care of it, and I felt fine within 20 minutes of realizing what was going on. But it was really scary, and I felt really sick, like with diseases and stuff like that. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be that you're going and you're putting yourself in, you know, I'm going to go hang out in this place where people do major drugs and all this stuff. Like, it doesn't have to be a bad thing necessarily. It can be a good place. It can be a positive place where you can pick up things too. So it's not necessarily that you're a bad person or something and you're picking up attachments. I consider myself a good guy. I pick up plenty of attachments, and it's because, well, actually there's another kind of attachment too. I pull a lot of attachments that are excited about my motorcycle trips. If you've watched any of those videos, you'll notice there are spirits that want to follow me or want to ride my motorcycle with me. Those are attachments too. They might not be malicious, but they are there, and if they wanted to, they might be able to get in my head and affect my way of thinking or affect my emotions or behaviors. So, you know, they aren't like the possession kind where they're trying to take over my body or really take over or live vicariously in the way of like addictions or whatever. But that's somebody that is following along. It's a kid that wants to ride with me on my motorcycle. So it could be that they like you. And still, it's not best to have these guys with you. You know, they need to back off. They need to give you some space. All right, so with my technical difficulties, I'm not sure if this is going to work at all, and it might have to go into part 2 to answer more questions about attachments, but I hope this has been helpful for you. If it has, please subscribe, please like, do all those things, and comment. Let me know if you've had an attachment. And then also, I am available to work again, so schedule an appointment with me. Check out my website. I've got all that information down there. I've got all that information somewhere. It's either on the screen right here or there. It's the magic of editing. I don't know. All right, I'm gonna stop because I'm just rambling at this point. Thanks, everybody.